You ever wake up one morning, step outside with your coffee, and realize you're not just living your grandpa's dream anymore? You're smack in the middle of someone else's suburban fever dream? That's what happened to me. I went up to Grandpa's old cabin, 47 acres of Tennessee dirt he'd sweated and bled foreignly to find 196 brand new houses staring right back at me. Not even kidding. White picket fences gleaming. Kids racing their bikes in a big circle called Heritage. There's a pool, right where Grandpa's workshop used to stand, sparkling like the punchline to a joke nobody warned me about. You ever see families grilling hot dogs on what used to be your land, waving like you're the weird neighbor? Welcome to my life. And no, you're gonna love these white Escalade screeches up my gravel drive. Out steps this blonde, hair sprayed to within an inch of its life, power walking across my yard like she's leading an army. Your shack violates every rule, she says, clutching a clipboard like it's a loaded gun. Trespassing on common area. You've got 30 days to fix it to code, or we condemn it. She called my grandpa's cabin built with his bare hands a shack. Yeah, that's how my day started. I told her my family's owned this land for over 80 years. I had the original deed sitting right in my truck, just waiting for this exact showdown. You'd think most folks would wave that thing in the air, start yelling about property rights, threaten to get a lawyer on the line. Not me. Something told Meme it was my stubborn streak. Maybe it was hearing Grandpa's voice in my head. Just wait. Let her dig her own grave. So I kept my mouth shut, let her collect her millions in bogus fees, watch her parade around like she owned the whole world. The day she finally dragged me to court, I dropped that 1943 deed like a bomb. You should have seen her face when the judge realized what was happening. Nuclear. Meltdown. But I'll get to that. Name's Ezra Whitfield. Third generation carpenter. Second generation stubborn. First generation dealing with HOA insanity that'd make my grandpa roll over in his grave. Grandpa Tobias bought this land in 43. Every dollar earned splitting logs, dragging timber through Tennessee mud. He built that cabin board by board, hands that knew what honest work meant, hands that built things to last, not just till the next HOA meeting. And the smell, God, I can still smell it, some day cedar shavings, a little motor oil, and those Lucky Strike cigarettes he swore he never liked. I used to sit on that porch with him, the creek fog rising like a prayer. Now there's a mechanical hum from a dozen central air units, chlorine in the air, barbecue smoke drifting over the old garden beds. Instead of deer slipping through the brush, it's lawnmowers and kids screaming by the pool. You ever walk into a place and feel like a ghost in your own house? That was me. I'd inherited the whole spread after his funeral, but I hadn't come back much. Work, grief, take your pick. Taxes were suspiciously low, but when you're busy trying to keep your business afloat, you don't question good luck. The first morning back, coffee in hand, staring at that pool, it just hit me. Like life itself had decided to slap me awake. And that's when Claudette Pettignia, her name spelled like someone sneezed while typing, pulled up and announced herself. Millbrook Estates, HOA president, she said, flashing a business card that looked like a casino chip. She hit me with a list of violations so long I thought she'd gone off the rails. Called Grandpa's cabin a recreational vehicle. Threatened legal action if I didn't pay $847 a month in HOA dues, retroactive, plus every fine and fee they could invent. Made it sound like I'd squatted on her land, not the other way around. She told me her HOA had bought the property in '94. Suggested, real sweet-like, that if I had any documentation proving otherwise, I should contact her legal department. Sure, something about the way she said, I don't know, just fell off. Like she was reading lines she didn't understand. Most people would have lost it, run and grabbed that deed, started a war on the spot. But my grandpa taught me when you're in a hole, stop digging. So I just smiled. I'll look into it, I told her. And then she made her big mistake. Gave me a packet full of violations, thicker than a phone book. Told me to study it carefully. She had no idea I'd been reading contracts since before I could shave. First thing I did, drove straight to the county courthouse, down in the records basement where the air smells like old lawsuits and broken dreams. The clerk asked for my parcel number. Let me tell you, property law is like plumbing. You only notice when something stinks. Every transaction leaves a trail chain of title, deeds, signatures. If there's no record, the sale never happened. Wi-Fi made my hands shake. No sale after 1943. Grandpa still owned every inch, at least on paper. But then I found a corrective deed from March 1994, saying half the land went to Millbrook Development for $1 and other valuable considerations. Signed by Grandpa. Here's the problem. March 94? Grandpa was in the hospital, couldn't even hold a pen. Someone forged his signature while he was lying there, barely able to breathe. That's when I knew this wasn't just a paperwork mix-up. This was a scam, 30 years running. Now, most people would have blown a gasket, called the sheriff, raised hell. But I've been around insurance adjusters long enough to know, don't yell until you've got proof. So I paid for photocopies, built a folder an inch thick, documented every single thing. And then I waited. Back at the cabin, the harassment got wild. Code enforcement started showing up with their shotgun writing tickets for things like unpermitted electrical work for changing a light bulb, unauthorized water access for using the old well, improper structural modifications for fixing the front steps. Each fine a few $100, each one meant court dates, time off work, death by 1,000 cuts. But I paid every single one. Didn't argue. Documented everything. Patience, my friend, isn't just a virtue, it's a weapon. Every fine was evidence. She kept escalating. Soon I got a letter demanding thousands in retroactive dues, more fees, threats of foreclosure. She threatened to evict me off my own land using HOA rules that didn't even apply to my property. The math was so bogus, it was almost funny if I hadn't been living it. I opened a new bank account, paid everything through there. Every payment, every fee, more proof for court. But it got worse. Maintenance crews started showing up, taking pictures, measuring my land, smoking and staring like they were casing the place for a heist. Then came the accidents, my internet cut off, water pressure dropped to nothing, mail delivery suspended because my gravel driveway use since 1943 was now suddenly unsafe. Then one morning, Claudette rolls up with 3 dark sedans in tow. Out pops some men in suits, clipboards and equipment in hand, marching across my property. The lead guy starts hammering survey stakes, stretching tape between the old oak trees Grandpa had planted. We're conducting a community acquisition assessment, Claudette says, sweet as syrup. That's legal speak for, we're stealing your land, but we'll give you a check so you can't complain. She handed me a court order fancy letterhead, shiny seal. But the paper's too clean, smells like it just came off someone's printer. I read every word, anger building like a freight train. They claim my cabin's on disputed common area, and they're going to compensate me for it. Translation: get out, old man. Again, most people would have snapped. Not me. I grabbed my camera, documented everything, let them dig their own hole. The real low blow came on a Saturday. Chainsaws fired up at sunrise, rattled my windows. HOA landscaping crew, supposedly clearing diseased trees. Those trees weren't just old, they were landmarks. Grandpa's original survey marks, boundaries of the property. They cut them all down, 6 hours straight. Turned a lifetime of memories into mulch. But with the tree line gone, I saw what was really going on. A huge construction site, more houses, a new pool, even a shopping center being built on what was still legally my land. That night, Claudette shows up in a little black dress, expensive wine in hand. Let's make a deal, she says. Offers me $150,000 for a quick claim deed. Land worth $3 million, timber and water rights included. Think of it as a fresh start, she says. Lady, I thought, you have no idea who you're dealing with. After she left, I sat outside, moonlight shining down on the stumps, and made up my mind. Enough patience. Time to fight. I found Grandpa's old survey notes, measuring chains, wooden stakes all still there in his dusty shed, his handwriting precise as ever. And in those notes, I found my ace in the hole. The original survey showed all 47 acres, every inch accounted for, with boundary trees and markers, initials carved deep. The corrective deed only covered half the land. The rest clubhouse, pool, 76 houses still legally mine. Claudette wasn't just trespassing. She'd built an empire on stolen ground, collected millions in dues from people who didn't even own their houses. I called up Harold, a retired county surveyor who'd worked with Grandpa. Told him the whole story. If somebody stole from Tobias, he said, we'll nail him to the courthouse door. We got to work, GPS equipment humming, finding those concrete markers, matching every measurement. When we dug up the one by the pool, TWW 1943, carved in stonite, felt like Grandpa reached out from the past and handed me the win. I spent days in the courthouse library, learned more about Tennessee property law than I ever wanted. Filed a quiet title action, the legal equivalent of throwing a grenade in the middle of a poker game. Word spread fast. The annual HOA meeting was coming up, and I made sure the lawsuit would go public right before then. Let's just say folks started panicking. Claudette fought back like a rabid possum, hired Nashville lawyers, spread rumors, printed flyers calling me a dangerous neighbor, hired security to watch my every move, reported me for harassing mailmen, even tried to ruin my business, call my clients, made up stories. I lost contracts, got hate mail. She even tried to have me arrested, filed restraining orders with fake witness statements. Nothing stuck, but every time she made a move, I documented it. Every fake social media post, every forged review, every threatening call. Her fingerprints were everywhere. Some neighbors started asking questions about HOA finances, about why their fees kept going up. The cracks started to show. Her final play? A news crew, a primetime story painting me as a deranged squatter. My face all over TV, phone calls from strangers, vandalism. She even built a fake website trashing my business. But she got sloppy, used the same phrases, left the same digital trails. I traced it all. The night before the HOA meeting, I sat on the porch, thinking about everything she'd done to try and break me. But I had one thing she'd never have: the truth and enough proof to back it up. That meeting, man, you had to be there. The clubhouse was packed. Claudette strutted in with her lawyers, started a presentation full of fake reports, forged documents, the whole circus. Then I stood up. Harold fired up his GPS, showed everyone the markers. I laid out Grandpa's survey, the forged deeds, the payment records, the tree stumps marking the boundaries. Residents started murmuring. Marcus, a contractor, asked about building permits. Jennifer, a mom, brought up water contamination. Betty, the accountant, questioned the missing HOA money. Then Harold found a marker by the fountain, dug it up in front of everyone. TWW 1943, carved deep. You could feel the room shift. Claudette started yelling, called the sheriff. But the deputy took one look at the evidence and said, "Ma'am, if this is his land, you're the one trespassing." Chaos. Neighbors demanding answers. The lawyers turned pale. And in that moment, I got what I'd waited for, not just justice, but vindication. I looked Claudette in the eye and said, "I think it's time for some new management around here." After that, it all unraveled fast. Federal charges, FBI, computers seized, Escalade repossessed. Turns out, she'd been running the same scam in 3 other counties. Prosecutors cut a deal, stolen land returned, restitution for everyone she'd bilked. But I didn't evict anyone. Those families bought their houses fair and square. We worked out a way for them to stay, pay fair prices, rebuild the community for real. The extra land became a park, a scholarship fund, a monument to honest work named for my grandpa. And the people who'd suffered under Claudette, they stepped up, ran the place right. You know what I learned? Sometimes justice takes its sweet time. But if you're patient, document everything, and let people show their true colors well, eventually, karma comes calling. So let me ask you, if you'd been in my shoes, would you have waived that deed on day one? Or waited, let the whole rotten system expose itself? And have you ever tangled with someone who thought paperwork made them king? If you've got a story like mine, or a neighbor who needs to hear this, share it. I guarantee I'm not the only one who's been steamrolled by folks who mistake rules for rights. Maybe, just maybe, if enough of us stand up, these stories won't have to end in war. But if they don't, make sure you're the one holding the shovel at the end.
Cảm ơn tất cả các bạn đã xem video.